So we got to 1990, I think,
Yeah.
last week, and we're going through towards the twilight of your career in the yard. I think we were just getting to.
Yeah. So 1990, what happened in... Oh, that was when I changed. I think I mentioned it, didn't I? I changed from shipyard services to asset disposal.
Asset disposal, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
you just started
so we
that.
did that bit, didn't we?
You didn't do asset disposal. You mentioned it and then
Yeah.
said about the smithy.
The
is it?
smithy.
And some bits like that, and you said, "Well, we'll get into that."
Yeah, the smithy. And then when I was selling the stuff,
So on that, the asset disposal. What happened in the yard, I guess, to mean that all the assets had to be disposed? Because that was basically the decline, the start of the decline of the yard, wasn't it? Or the significant start of the decline.
It'd been going on for years, because it was scrap as well. You know, all the machines that were getting scrapped.
Right.
It was like a scrap man, if you will.
Yeah.
And they had somebody that did it. There was a department. What the heck was it called? I forget what it was called now. There was a small department that did get rid of the spare metals, if you will.
Yeah.
And all the rubbish.
Disposals team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sold it for scrap.
Yeah.
To the local scrap dealer.
Yeah.
When I took over, it was Dave Armour. He was a big scrap man in town. Prior to that, it was Sammy Morgan, who had a yard down Marsh Street, and then he had one on the corner where Hollywood Park is now, and Dave Armour bought it off him.
Right.
So he became the leader locally for getting rid of scrap.
Right.
You know, if it was a scrap machine or the turnings of machines,
Yeah.
we used to sell that off as well. So much a ton. You know, different materials were different prices a ton, and then there was light and heavy, whatever you want to call it. And then, like you say, we started closing buildings down, and to save on rates, that was, because you didn't have to pay the rates if they were unoccupied.
Sure. And what caused that? Was it just work drying up? Like
yeah. Well, it was redundancies, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because in the 80s, the late 80s, they started laying people off. Because when you go back to in the 90s, there was only about 5,000 employed in the yard.
There was only 5,000 when I started 15 years ago. Yeah. 15,000
prior to that, there'd be 10, 15,000.
Yeah.
You know, so that was part of it.
And what was that like when everyone else was getting laid off through that period?
Well, we were taking redundancies. I mean, we had the strike in 1988. That was for holidays, to get the holidays. I had to work because the DDH was built then, and some managers had to stop in to keep the yard going, you know, to look after essential services and that. And I was down the DDH. I got the job of, well, I don't know how I got the job. I used to drive a van round to go to the wages office to get the wages that was in Craven House. I had to go in the shipyard to get food for the troops. I was the catering manager, timekeeping manager, because computers had just come in, and we had to keep records, but I couldn't do it, so somebody else did it, because I had a lad that did it for me. So I wasn't into computers. Well, I was, but I wasn't. If you know what?
Yeah, you didn't.
It was just
not operating them, but
it was just on the outskirts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the 80s, 88.
Yeah.
And around there, or 80s, were just coming in. So, yeah. So where was I? Oh, Dave Armour, wasn't it? Closing the buildings down, and we shut the training schools down. all the machines out of the engineers went to Malaysia. Well, they were not Malay, they were Malaysians that were opening a factory in Australia.
Right.
They came over and bought the machines, but they were so-and-so's. They bought the machines,
Yeah.
but they took the machine tools with them. They weren't supposed to take the machine tools neither, so they half-inched them.
Yeah.
And then the shipbuilding training school, the model boats were in there.
Oh yeah.
The ones that.
Do you want to just describe them first, because I've seen pictures of them, but
Have you not seen them? If you go in the
I've not seen them. But
go in the Dock Museum,
oh, is it those in there?
they're in there. They
Oh,
used to be.
I've seen them. Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, well, they used to be in Barrow Museum.
Yeah.
Then Barrow Museum shut down, and they all went to the Dock Museum. But they were still in the training school. There was some on each floor of the training school, and some of those were sent to the hospital. I think there's 3 or 4 in the hospital. When you go in the hospital and look around, they're there. And then one went to the hospice that had been just opened. Got a friend of mine, Norman Baber, that was in the works engineers. He and his wife had something to do with the hospice. I think she was the nurse or the matron or something. And we got permission to send one up there. And the others, well, there's a story about one of the, forget which one it was, one of the liners, the P&O wanted it back, wanted the model to go in the forecourt or somewhere in the building in London. So they took it to London. They were putting it on the first floor. They had to get a crane to lift it up, but it was that big it wouldn't go through the windows. So they cut it in 2.
Yeah.
And inside, the bloke I knew was one of the model makers, and he put his name on a piece of paper inside. Fred Wales, old Fred Wales. He lived at Kirby. His name was in it.
Brilliant.
I did that a bit around the yard as well, as you know.
Yeah. Well, he needs to let us know where they are. I'll go and try and find them.
They've gone now. But anyway, it ended up that he got an invite, him and his missus, to London, all expenses paid on P&O for that. So I don't know what happened to that. Well, his son took over on the works engineers department, the outside works engineer, young Fred Wales. So I knew them both, the old man and the other one. So anyway, all the tools and whatever, they all got put round the workshops. So there was all that, and then they shut the stores down. They were shutting or getting rid of surplus in the stores. All the tools and all the stuff. They used to make their own spanners in the yard, in the foundry. There was skips full of spanners. Just single-ended ones. They all got wound. Stuff that was useful coming out of the stores, supposed to be scrapped. I used to go, well, the millwrights and all the other shops. It was something that they could use in the workshops. I used to go and see the head foreman and say, right, we're scrapping this. Do you want it? And they used to say, yeah, but what's happening to my budget? I said, oh, it's not on your budget, don't worry. They're all freebies these. So, and used to sell, cleaned the paint shop out. So it used to sell the paint.
Proper, it's getting rid of everything.
Well, it was, I used to sell it at five. When I took over, for years, I'll tell you another story about that as well. When you wanted scrap, you used to go and see the foreman on the job. you know, and he used to say, oh, it's so and so. It used to be a shilling. Or give us sixpence for it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was when the Polaris started,
Yeah.
and part of the missiles used to come in American great big boxes, about 10 or 12 foot square, all packed up.
Yeah.
Well, I always remember talking to Joe Raven, who was the foreman joiner on the outside. He said, I got done the other week. I said, why, what's the matter? He said, a bloke come to me and said, I want to buy 2 boxes, Joe. 2 wooden boxes. How much will it be? He said, oh, 2 bob or something. Give us 2 bob. So, right, so next thing, he sees this wagon going out with 2 big boxes on about 10 foot square.
10p.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I took over, it was like that, and then.
So obviously it was like the yard's property, but the foremen in that area effectively owned it and would flog it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like fluorescent tubes. I took it over, but the director that was in charge,
Yeah.
Because I worked for different directors. You know, like I told you, I worked for the personnel.
Yeah.
Well, I worked for the works managers.
Yeah.
And I worked under different directors. Anyway, when he took over, he said, right, we're putting the prices up. It's £10 plus VAT. So, right, so I used to sell fluorescent tubes.
Yeah.
You know, the fittings.
Yeah.
With the tube used to be £1. So it had to be £10, didn't it? So I used to say to the lads, right, go and find some mates and buy 10. Get 10. I'll sell you 10 for £10. And I said, while you're at it, I said, take a box of tubes as well. Because every so often,
Yeah.
they used to change all the fluorescent tubes in the drawing offices, whether they were good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
So we had to pay to get rid of them.
Right.
There was a machine, a Heath Robinson machine, that we had outside the electrician's shop in the centre of the yard. It was just a big tube, and you put the fluorescent tubes in at the top.
Yeah.
And it came down, you pulled the lever and it smashed them all up.
Right.
Then underneath there was special bags for the glass to go in, because they have mercury in the tube. So that was the fluorescent side of it.
Right.
So all that had to be special, taken away. Well, it used to cost £300 to bring a wagon up here to take one bag away. So, you know, that's the way we got rid of them, instead of just getting bits at a time, selling boxes, so it was easier to smash them all up.
Yeah.
And then, so there was that. And I mentioned the paint, didn't I?
Yeah.
So that was, used to sell anything really. Used to have people coming from all over. We had one chap, John Watkinson. He came from Backup.
Yeah. That's where Sinead works. Backup.
Backup.
Yeah.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh, because John Watkinson, he had a business when he started. He used to make car trailers, and then he was making airport trailers for the airport, Viking trailers it was called. And he had a big factory. Well, he had a small factory when he went into making the airport trailers. Then he expanded, but when he was putting the jigs out to weld and that, he didn't have any tables, like big steel tables.
Yeah.
Well, he used to do them on the floor, and then he came up one time and we were selling some big marking off tables, you know, great big things. So I sold him them. So he was over the moon with it. he invited us down to the factory. Me and the transport manager, Ray Maguire, just lives across the road now. We used to go down and see him.
Yeah.
And then he bought a tank off me, fully working tank.
What kind of tank? An armoured, like a tank, a vehicle tank.
A big tank. I don't know what we used to make in Vickers.
Pass. I can't remember. Yeah.
No, I can't remember. But it laid around. It was surplus, but it didn't have a turret on.
Right.
It was just the body.
So
he got it. No, it did. That had the turret on. I'm thinking about the one that we had. Had a turret on, but the barrel was spiked.
Right.
So you couldn't fire it.
Yeah.
So he bought that £5,000.
What, for just an ornament for?
Well, it was into all sorts.
Yeah.
So he bought that and he took it to bake up, and I got the manager in there to go down and get it running for him. So he put it in the carnival parade at the front when he got it going, and it broke down in front of right in front of the car. But when we used to go and see him, he used to say, "Go along there, go to the shoe factory and tell them I sent you and get a pair of shoes." That was John. But he was a workaholic because he used to get up about 4 o'clock in the morning. Used to go around the airports.
Yeah.
You know, he used to go down to Heathrow and places like that.
Yeah.
They're trying to get his trailers in.
Boy, proper entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was. So then I remember one time we were emptying the workshops because they were being made redundant. Went down the sub dock because Devonshire dock, there was this Devonshire dock and the sub dock.
Right.
The sub dock is where the DDH is.
Yes, right.
Now,
yeah, I've seen little pictures. Yeah.
That was the sub dock. There was gates through into the sub dock, and you could,
Yeah.
So you had to have a pass to go in the sub dock latterly before the DDH was built.
Right.
So anyway, I got the lads to go down, and they were emptying the plumber's shop, and I went in because I used to go on the jobs, and look at them. I was outside. It wasn't an office job.
Yeah,
It was. So I used to go out, and I went in the plumber's shop, and I said, "What's those planks in the floor?" "Oh, there's a pit down there." I said, "Oh, let's have them up." "Oh, I'm not going down there." I said, "Well, you're going to have to go down." I said, "We'll have to go down and see what's down there." "No, I'm not going." So I went down, and it was like about as big as this.
Yeah.
And there was little anvils,
Right.
and all sorts down there. So
What was it for? What was it? Just
well, it was a store, wasn't it?
Right.
For the plumber's shop they used to use.
Right.
They stored all sorts down there. Anyway, when I come up, the lad said, "What's down there?" I said, "Do you know?" I said, "There was a bloke down there, and he was sat in the corner." "Was he?" I said, "Yeah." You know what he said to me? What did he say? He said, "Is the war over yet?" And they all went, yeah, well,
Brilliant.
the little anvils are only about 100 weight little anvils, and we got a new fleet reserves director,
Right.
Vic Buxton. He started, the spares one. I didn't know he'd started, and I was in the office, and he come and he said, "I want an anvil." I said, "Oh." I said, "Right, it just so happens we've got one, a little one." So I said, because he had a farm just outside Ulverston. His wife was a good artist.
No.
If you see any, I forget what she was called now, Jennifer Buxton. So I said, there, it's there. I said, how are you going to get it home? Oh, can the lads put it in the back of the car for me? I said, yeah. So the lads put it in the back of his car, and I said, how are you going to get out at home? Oh, I've got a strong wife, he said, a real strong wife. She'll get it out.
Okay.
And that same bloke, when he came,
Yeah.
I was in the DDH, I was still looking after the car parking. Well, it must have started in 88, 89 or something like that. And I remember him coming up to the office and saying, I want a car pass. I said, what do you mean you want a car pass? I have to get in the queue like the rest of them. Yes, but I've just started, I need a car pass. I said, no. I said, you can't have one, go and get a form and fill it in. And sorted it out. Then he came back again, he said, Mr. Howell said, you could give me a car pass, please. Gordon Howell, that was it.
Yeah.
I said, right, what's your name? He said, Buxton, director of... Oh, I said, all right. Some stories. Yeah. So the other one was we sold the central boiler house because there was in the middle of the yard. If you went in through the centre gate, you know where that was. The centre gate was opposite the shipyard gate, where the tunnel went under.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
it was there.
Yeah.
And just inside that was the smithy along that wall.
Right.
That's where the smithy was.
Oh, right, okay.
And alongside that was the heat treatment, where they used to treat things, make them, temper them.
Yeah.
Because that building became derelict.
Right.
And then when they were doing the smithy, it was attached to the smithy. I got it knocked down. I said, demolish that.
Yeah.
So I got played hell with. They said to me, what did you get that knocked down for? I said, well, it needed to come down, didn't it? I said, all the cladding was off, everything. It was only the framework, yeah. But did you have it checked? I said, have it checked what for? See if there was any chemicals in it, because it was a chemical place, I said, no, why? Why did I have to do that? Oh, well, it was cyanide in there. I said, oh, was it? I said, yeah. I said, well, the health physics went round and checked it, and there's the clearance for it. So I said, it's too late now, it's gone. So then the boiler house, we sold the central boiler house, I forget where that went, and they took the cladding off the outside of the boiler. Yeah. Because it was fiberglass. It had been, all the asbestos was supposed to be taken off. Yeah. And when they took the cladding off, the bolts, because the boilers were riveted with rivers, round the rivers was asbestos. Right. So we had to get the asbestos team in. Yeah. That was Peter Schofield, I think he was called. He was just starting then. And it was the first big job he'd had. Right. It cost us £10,000. And we sold the boiler house for 9,000. So there was that. They were cleaning the drawing offices out. Yeah. All the big benches and all. Really? All the old wooden furniture.
Because they were replaced with computer-aided design? Or
CAD, yeah. Because I think I told you I had to write whatever it was for the microfilm cabin on Fallbirth. Yeah. When they started going round the yard.
It sounds like they're bloody now left. The DDH, bits of top yard, and the offices, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, the offices were shutting down. Right. All the old furniture was coming out. All the wooden furniture, because computers were in, weren't they? Yeah. And I had it all taken from the offices,
Yeah.
and it went into Farm Street, the Farm Street offices.
Right.
You know where they were?
No.
You know the back of the buildings?
Yeah.
There's a big building there, behind the Co-op
Right.
on Island
Yeah.
Road.
Oh,
Alongside
yeah.
the Co-op, that street,
Yeah, yeah.
Buxton Street, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that big building
Oh, was
there.
that some offices? Huh?
Yeah, well, that was the printers went in
Right.
there. The Cal lab went in there, not the Cal lab. There was a lab in there, the electronics lab or something.
Yeah.
But I had the first floor. I had all those hairy tiles when they changed to ginger tiles in the ginger palace. You know, I told you about putting the Jugerfeld tiles down, didn't I? Thought I told you about the fleas and all that.
Oh, you yeah.
Yeah, well, they were Jugerfeld tiles.
Right.
When they first came out, they were made of hog's hair.
Right.
Because I went to buy some when the kids were young,
Yeah.
and they said they're no good for kids because the hog's hair's rough, it'll wear the knees. I went to buy them from Bamford's. There was a big furniture shop in town. Anyway, I when they took them up, I got stored on the first floor and I was selling them off.
Yeah.
I forget how much I was charging for them.
Yeah.
But people were buying them for
Yeah.
home
Put them in the house. Yeah.
and put the others down. So the next floor, I had all these big benches. In fact, there's a picture of me taken in the link when I retired, showing me with all this furniture in the top floor.
You have
there.
to dig that out after all.
Yeah. So that I think I've got a copy of that
Yeah.
somewhere.
It'd be good to see that.
I've got some Vickers Newsies
Yeah.
that you can have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I used to sell the furniture, and I put an advert in a big magazine. I forget what it was now. It cost £6,000 for an advert then to put it in to try and get rid of the furniture.
Right.
But I was selling anything.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of the yard shutting down, a lot of people getting laid off. So like how did that feel, having been in the yard when it was at its pomp and its busiest, to then seeing it sort of dwindle?
Well, it was, I don't know really, because I was still involved. You know, I didn't notice it. I wasn't on the shop floor then, was I?
But you're shutting down big facilities that you would have worked in previously.
Yeah, I know. But I had to make staff redundant as well.
You had to?
Yeah, when I was, before I went on to, well, I had to make them redundant when I was on the asset disposal as well.
Right.
Because the piecework department had about 60 men working for me. You know, I had to call them in and say, we've got to dispense with your services, you know. What do you want to do? You know, call them in early in the morning when the list came out and say, what do you want to do? You can go home now if you want and see your missus and tell her, but you'll be finishing on such and such a day. So I used to let them go home, you know, just to break the news.
It's pretty hard, isn't it?
Then I had something to do on the asset disposal as well.
Yeah.
That was still going on.
How was that?
It wasn't very nice, was it? You know, saying something, you sacked one.
Yeah.
It's all right if you're a bad one. Well, some of the lads that worked in the workshop, on a Thursday, it was market day in Ulverston one day. So you never used to see them on a Thursday. They never used to come in. A lot of times they'd go to Ulverston and go boozing, or they'd come in the morning and then disappear. Yeah. So we scrapped the big computer that in Vickers. You know, the great big, like these big units they were. Yeah. And the big discs on them. They were about that size. They were in the quadrangle offices down below.
Yeah.
That got scrapped. The Emily Barrett, the masts, I told you about them, did I? About when what was it, Princess Di came to launch a boat.
Mm.
I think when she came to launch the boat,
Right.
do something, I nearly scrapped the masts off that. Yeah, so went on, and then I told you about my mate Jimmy Seward wanting to take redundancy, because at that time redundancies came out and you didn't lose anything on your pension.
Right.
You know, whatever you'd got, you got what you got.
You got what you got, yeah.
Then, if you'd have gone on at 65, you'd have got more.
Yeah.
But you didn't lose anything off your pension because you were going early.
Yeah.
So I went. But prior to that, I don't know whether I've mentioned it, my mate, Jimmy Seward, he wanted to go. He bought the small holding at Three Bridges. If you know where that is, just outside Swarthmore when you go down the dip.
Right.
I think I told you about that. He bought that and he wanted to go, but he was in charge of the cleaners, the personnel, and the personnel. He wasn't in charge of the personnel shop, but he was in charge of the staff in the personnel shop.
Right.
So I said, oh, well, go in the boss and tell him I'll do your job as well. So he went in and told him that, and then he left in the May.
Yeah.
That was May 92.
Right.
So then I went in August or sometime, or maybe a bit before, and said, I'm taking redundancy. So they said, well, but you're just taking Jimmy's job, and now you want to go.
Yeah.
I said, well, you're making young ones, you know, the young managers or the young foremen. I said, you're making them redundant.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't want that.
Yeah.
One of the young lads in the office, Pete McLean, he was on the list. I said, no, I said, I'll go. He can stop on. So anyway, so then I had to think I started on the 8th of September in the yard.
Yeah.
When I started originally.
The first time round, before.
So they said, well, you can go in September. I said, I want to go in September because I've got me 40 years in then.
Yeah.
So they said, all right, we've got it all. They got it all geared up. Then I think I told you I had problems with my knee. I had a Baker's cyst on my knee, and I had to have an operation to take it off on my knee. So I went in and said, can't go in September. Why not? I said, I'm taking 3 months sick leave. I said, because it's 3 months of my knee when the operation. But you've got to go. It's all geared up. I said, no. I said, I can't go. But in the meantime, they said, you'll have to stop on longer because you've got to train somebody up to do the job. Yeah. Which was John Dixon, who was a contractor. He was working on contracts. He'd been head foreman sheet metal worker and left, gone somewhere else. So anyway, that was that. So then I left.
And so what, you're 56 then?
Yeah, 56, 92.
Yeah, so quite young to retire, but...
Well, I don't know.
Done your 40 years though,
yeah, done
not a bad stretch,
done 40 years.
Yeah.
So that was that. So...
What was it, go on, I know I keep asking these type of questions, but how did it feel to leave the yard after 40 years?
Sorry?
How did it feel to leave the yard after 40 years?
I don't really know. I suppose I missed it, getting up in the morning, you know, and going to work, but then I started doing other things, so I was still getting up at the same time and going and doing things, because, as I say, I started 92, because 92, went on business class, how to run a business. I was on, got a diploma somewhere, pass the business. No, I'll tell you about all the different things I did on education,
Yeah.
and the certificates and all that. So I went to learn computing.
Right.
I went to the union. They had an office where you could learn computers, and I did my ECDL.
Yeah, the driver's license.
Yeah,
But
I found it the other day. It's about 20 years out of date.
yeah, all floppy disks and that.
So I did that, and I went to Rathbones. Not Rathbones. Yeah, what was it? No, another one. I carried on with my studies.
Yeah.
To do other things like maths, English, and all that. Pass them. Phoenix it was.
Oh yeah.
But when I left, I went down. We started doing the driving range in 92, 93 with Stanwell Crew.
Yeah.
It must have been 92
Yeah.
when I left, because I left in the October, and we must have started doing the driving range in.
What was that? You set up the driving range with Stan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Stan had the land, and
Yeah.
we wanted machinery, so I bought. I think, did I tell you, the big Tugmaster, the thing they used on airports.
All right.
That tows the trolleys round,
Yeah,
tows the planes round.
Yeah.
Well, we had one in the yard before they got the Shirley transporters
Shirley's, yeah.
and the big transporter, and they used to drag the units round the yard on a big 20-foot trailer attached to one of these things.
Right.
But heavy loads, they used to get, I forget the name of the haulage company. They used to get a specialised haulage company. But
So what were you using that for on a driving range?
well, it wasn't really the driving range. We started the driving range, but Stan had bought a big fishing boat, a big Norwegian steel-hulled fishing boat that we had down the deep water berth, down the Adeb. Do you know where Adeb is?
No.
Right, if you go down the dock.
Yeah. Down which way? Down the dock?
Down
Ramsden Dock Road. Oh.
No, the other dock, the other side, by Morrison's.
Oh yeah.
If you go down there to the docks, the proper docks.
Yeah, okay.
That's down to the docks.
Yeah.
Well, they used to. Well, the gates are still there.
Where ABP is now.
Associated Bridge. Yeah, well, it's all ABP.
Yeah, well, that's the office.
That was the naval base.
Right.
Down there, where the dock is, where the lads go fishing.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Down
Go off
there.
that bit. Yeah.
Well, there was all the workshops down there and the accommodation for the crews.
The crew accommodation. Yeah.
So we were down there with the fishing boat. So we got the. I bought the Douglas Towmaster 40-foot trailer. I bought a forklift truck. A two-wheel dolly that you can fasten onto a trailer and tow. You can, and a thing on an electric bogie, an arm that went up, with a basket on, so you could do things high up.
All right, yeah.
I bought all them that we had down the deep water berth. So I drove this great big Douglas Tourmaster with a trailer on down to the docks out there, Southgate shipyard, Southgate. And when you go down the docks by Fainted Scrapyard, there's a bad corner there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I know exactly.
And I had to drive that, and as I was going down, there was a car coming up, and Stan said, "You missed it by about that much." So that was not on the deep water side. It was on the roadway, on that side of the roadway, on the dock side, where you went fishing, where they launched the Mayflower.
Yeah.
So we had all those workshops down there, and then the deep water berth was where my mate had the wooden fishing boat, the Sea Jade.
Right.
Remember me telling you about that? No, that he dug up from Whitehaven Harbour.
Right.
He brought it up from the bottom, and he had it stored. He got it down into the dock museum. In the dock there, that was the graving dock.
Yeah.
Then I've got the DVD of the videotape of that I need sorting out.
Yeah.
We've got that towed down to the deep water berth.
Right.
That was in a separate partition.
So what were you using the Tourmaster for then? I'm still not sure what you're using the Tourmaster for.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Right. So this big boat.
Yeah.
It was down the road. Alongside the road, there was another road.
Right.
Down there.
Yeah.
Well, it was a wrong, because there was the boiler house for Adep, and there was a load of buildings down there.
Yeah.
So this big boat was ashore.
Right. Got you, yeah.
So it had to go from there to get launched into the dock.
Got you, yeah.
But we were working on it ashore.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So you could get underneath. It was on a big cradle.
Right. Yeah,
so to get it from there,
you
had to come out the road and round and go to the proper docks.
Right.
Get it in Buccleuch dock.
Yeah.
So the tugmaster was to tow it on a trailer.
Yeah.
So we got the trailer, and then my mate that was doing the Sea Jade, Vic Grierson, he cut the middle out of the trailer, and we added some bits to the end, so that this boat, it was 70 foot.
Bloody hell. Right.
So we had something to tow it on, made our own trailer, and the towmaster was to tow it round and take it down and launch it in the docks.
Jesus.
So that's...
And what was it? Why did you have this boat? What were you doing with the boat?
Well, Stan had a fishing boat.
Right.
He did all sorts, Stan. He was a good chef.
Yeah.
He had the roundhouse for a spell.
Caravan park, obviously.
Well, no, that's Mike. That's his brother.
Oh, right. Oh, did he not have any involvement in the...
Well, it was family.
Yeah.
Mike side that. And Stan was just a bugger about virtually. God, he did all sorts. He had the fruit shop on Rysdale Road.
Right.
Barney's. He had a stall in the market. Selling fruit.
And Stan's... So Rob, who I went to school with, is Stan's grandson, innit? You remember? Because Stan's son was good friends with Uncle Andy, wasn't he?
No, that's Mike's son.
Is that Mike's son?
Mike's son.
Right, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah. Stan had a daughter.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because I found a picture of Stan the other day. Did I send it to you? No. Because he was about 30 odd stone, Stan.
Yeah, he was a big guy.
And Mike's still a big...
Yeah, he was a big guy, yeah.
Because he married Phyllis
Kiriakou.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, she's called Kiriakou now.
Yeah.
But that's a remarried her. But yeah, Phyllis, she worked at St Columbus. Phyllis.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an unmarried name. Anyway, that was because there was Simon.
That's who I'm about.
Simon Mulgrew.
Yeah.
And what's his brother?
Mike.
Mike. And young Mike.
Yeah, young Mike.
Well, one has the caravan park,
Yeah.
and one has
King Alfred.
the King Alfred.
Yeah.
But they both worked on the farm,
Yeah.
and Mike he had his dad's farm. They took the farm down Bigger Village,
Yeah.
where we used to go for parties down there. So what was
So you were getting up to all sorts with a big fishing boat and everything. So this is what you were spending your retirement on.
Yeah, well,
that sounds fun.
we were doing all sorts, weren't we? In between times, doing the driving range.
Yeah.
So I told you about setting the methane alight, didn't I? There was that, and we wanted to do. I told you about Thomas the Tank, did I? On the driving range, because somewhere you'll find in my papers there's a drawing of proper architect's drawing of what we intended. There was the driving range, then there was a manager's house, there was a restaurant, there was like a fishery at one side, and then we wanted to run we thought about running a little railway track around the perimeter.
Yeah.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
So I think it's mentioned because the justifications there, the business plans.
Yeah.
Somewhere here.
Right.
So we got involved with all sorts, Furnace Enterprise, the town hall to get planning permission for this, that and the other. And we went to see the chief executive because your mum, I think it was your mum, that was friends with his daughter at one stage. We went to see him and we said, we want to do this. And he said, why don't you wait a bit, because we're going to pedestrianise Dalton Road. And he said, you can run it round there, run it round from the end of Dalton Road, by the town hall, down Dalton Road, down onto Abbey Road, and back round to the town hall again. Yeah. So he said, how about thinking about that? So that was something else that never happened. Yeah. So we were doing that up. I was doing that. I was still doing cars, messing about with cars. Then I don't know how I sort of faded away from doing when the driving range didn't take off. I sort of faded away from that. Yeah. And I went to the Barra Disability Association. Yeah. You know where that is? Back at Dalton Road, School Street.
Yeah, I've been in there with you.
Yeah.
I know
there's a disability and there's a shop mobility.
Yes, yeah.
So I went in there to do something, and they said to me, for something or other, I think it was about my knee. Yeah. Goes on, because I'd left work early and had an injury, I could claim money for industrial injury or whatever it was. So I went in there to see about that, and they said, can you paint? I said, yeah, I can paint. Why? Paint that ceiling. I thought, so I said, all right, I'll do that. So I went in there and helped them, and then it sort of, I used to go in there, and then they started computer classes in there. Yeah. So I did computers at the RSA, passed exams in there for word processing and this and the other. And then they got me on fundraiser while I was still messing about with boats and other things. They got me on fundraising, and then I did what is it? Foundation course for Lancaster University. I did that. That's when I wrote my life story.
Right.
That was creative writing.
Yeah.
1 page foolscap, but you saw how much it got to.
Yeah.
So I was doing that.
So you kept busy. And what year is this getting up to now? Where are you up to roughly?
Well, we're up to about 1990, 94, 95.
Yeah.
1995, 94.
94, 95. So in that period, you neglected to mention the birth of your 3 amazing grandchildren, but we'll come back to that.
Right, well, you're talking about work.
Yeah, that'll trick. I've heard that story before. I'm joking. We'll do other.
Yeah.
We'll pick up other topics.
Now you've interrupted me train of thought.
No, sorry. Yeah.
So where was I with that? What was I doing?
Body disability, doing some courses, mid-90s.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself busy, retired.
Oh, and then I was headhunted for Furnace Enterprise.
Yeah.
To go on a new place that was started, Morel. That was previously Furnace Enterprise. They were trying to find employment for people getting laid off.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because there's more and more people getting laid off, and they were looking at ways and they started this Morel and made a manager for this Morel, Marine and Related Engineering Liaison. It was called something like that.
Yeah.
They brought a manager in from outside, and they recruited people from the yard.
Right. Yeah.
Previously, one of the managers had been seconded there, Ros Downs. She'd been seconded. I don't know whether it was her that suggested we did this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was through Harry Knowles was the head of the Furnace Enterprise then, and there was a committee. So what we did, there was some of the directors from the yard, different things, the senior managers and me, and me. So what they did, they were looking at suggestions that were coming in, like the suggestions committee.
Yeah.
That's probably why I got on it, because I'd run the suggestions committee in the yard to get ideas. People were coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
Because when I was in the yard before, when I was on the asset disposal, we went on a creative ideas or something. They got a few of the managers together and we went down Craven House and you had to think up daft ideas.
Right.
I always remember Len Poole, he was one of the, he was high up in the hierarchy because he come up, he said, to get the power supply for the submarines, power range testing, we should fly barrage balloons up with generators on to get the energy to drive it, so we didn't have to pay for the energy and get them in. Anyway, that was Len. Became good friends with Len. So that was Furnace Enterprise down there. And then I got, because I'd done the asset disposal, I was put on Cumbria Waste Management. That was just starting up for Cumbria. I had to go to Penrith every so often to meetings there with the hierarchy of Cumbria.
And was this voluntary or was it a...
Yeah.
A voluntary
You
thing.
didn't get paid, you got free lunch, and that was it.
I bet it was interesting.
Yeah. So I had a few projects. One of them, that was John Barker, who was, forget what he was in the yard. He got virtually sacked by Rick Emsley, and he was very bitter about that. Well, he got started down there, and he was on a different section to me, and he came to me one time because he was the one I had to write the justification for the airfield for.
Right.
He came and he said, fridges, we can't dispose of fridges because of the gas in them.
Yeah.
We need somebody to look at it
Yeah.
and tell us what to do with them. So I got that job.
Yeah.
Good job that. I had to write a paper on it. I got paid £375 for that.
Yeah.
So that was all right.
Oh, good.
So I'll get rid of the fridges.
We're coming up to an hour, and
we?
Sinead's just tried to ring me as well. So,
all right.
but, yeah, 56 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, time flies, isn't it?
Well,
Well, what year were we up to, so we remember next time, roughly speaking?
where was I at? 96, 97.
96, 97. Right.
I think.